Maybe you have had one of those days when you just want a quiet story with heart, danger, and a little hope. This one begins in a worn-down laundromat where old machines, unpaid bills, and a locked door are about to meet something from far beyond Earth. Thank you for being here. Let's listen together. The sign above Holt's wash had lost 2 letters before Ryan Holt ever thought of aliens. In the rain, with the neon buzzing and the blue paint peeling off the window frame, the sign read "Hot Wash" if the light caught it wrong. Most people in the neighborhood joked about it. Ryan did not. Every time he looked up and saw those missing letters, he remembered his father standing on a ladder with a screwdriver between his teeth, promising to fix it on Sunday. There had not been enough Sundays. The laundromat sat at the end of Mercer Street, between a closed pawn shop and a bus shelter with a cracked roof. It was the kind of place people used because they had no washing machine at home, no car to reach a better place, and no spare cash to complain when dryer number 4 ate their quarters. The tile floor was patched in 3 different colors. The vending machine sold cheap soap packets that sometimes stuck in the coil. When it rained hard, water slipped under the back door and gathered beneath washer number 3. Ryan knew every sound the old machines made. He knew the low cough before a drain pump failed, the angry whine before a belt snapped, the soft pop behind the breaker box that meant he had 10 seconds to shut down a row before smoke followed. That night, he was on his knees with his arm inside dryer number 7, holding a flashlight in his teeth while his sister Lily read the repair manual off her phone. "It says the thermal fuse is supposed to be replaced," Lily said. Ryan shifted his shoulder and pulled out a blackened little piece no bigger than his thumb. The manual was written by people with money. "That means you're going to make one work from the junk drawer. It means I'm going to ask the junk drawer for a favor." Lily gave a tired laugh. She was 19, but that year had made her look older. She had left her classes at the community college in October, telling everyone it was only for a semester. Ryan knew the truth was heavier than that. Tuition, rent, medicine for their mother, power bills, water bills, soap orders, parts for dyeing machines. There was always one more thing that wanted money before Lily's future could have any. Behind the counter, Ryan Holt counted cash from a tin box. She counted slowly, not because there was much of it, but because counting slowly delayed the answer. Ryan climbed to his feet. "How bad?" Marion closed the tin box. "Bad enough that I'm not saying it out loud tonight. Mom, 3 days before Mr. Kale files the eviction papers." That is what the letter says. She pushed a folded notice deeper beneath a stack of detergent receipts, as if paper could be ashamed. "If we can pay half by Friday, he might give us 1 more week." Lily looked down at the floor. Ryan wiped grease from his hands with a rag that had once been white. "Then we pay half by Friday." "With what?" Marion asked, not cruelly, just tired. Ryan looked around the laundromat. 5 washers still worked. 4 dryers worked if he spoke to them kindly. 2 vending machines worked if customers kicked them in the right place. The old water filter in the back room still hummed because his father had built it better than the rest of the world expected from a poor man. "We keep the doors open," Ryan said. "That's what we do tonight." Marion's face softened, but only a little. She had been hearing that from him since his father died. He always said the same thing. Keep the doors open. Keep the machines running. Keep people warm. Keep the last thing the family owned from slipping away. Outside, rain blew hard against the glass. At 11:40, Ryan locked the coin box, turned the last load in washer number 2 to spin, and told Lily to start mopping. Marion gathered the lost socks from the folding table. A gray sweatshirt turned in the dryer window like something dreaming of a better life. Ryan was reaching for the front gate when someone touched the glass. He did not hear a knock. The rain was too loud. He only saw the shape of a hand pressed against the door, long fingers, spread wide, shaking as if the hand had used its last strength to stop him from closing. Ryan froze. The figure outside did not look at the cash drawer. It looked at the washers. Ryan lifted the gate an inch and peered through the wet glass. More shapes stood behind the first one. Thin bodies, bent backs, wet clothes clinging to frames too narrow for the cold. Their faces were not human, but fear made the difference less important than it should have been. Lily whispered, "Ryan." Marion came around the counter. "Do not open it until we know." The person at the door raised a second hand. Ryan thought she was a woman, though the word did not fit exactly. She had silver blue skin beneath the rain, high cheekbones, and eyes that caught the laundromat light like wet glass. Her hair was dark, braided close to her head, but several strands had come loose and stuck to her face. She was beautiful in a way that made Ryan think of broken things still refusing to bow. Then he saw the writing on her skin. Thin, glowing lines ran around her wrist, up the side of her neck, across the hollow of her collarbone. More lines showed through torn sleeves and soaked fabric. They were not tattoos. They moved faintly, tightening and relaxing like thread wrapped around a pulse. Behind her, every one of the strangers had the same pale writing on their skin. The woman pressed her forehead to the glass. "Please," she said. Her English was careful, as if each word had been learned from a machine and carried a cost. "We saw water. We saw washing. Is there water on Earth that could take shame off skin?" No one moved for a second. Then a small body sagged against her from behind. A child with the same blue-silver skin slid sideways, eyes half open and mouth dry. The glowing lines on his neck flickered too fast. Ryan unlocked the door. "Get inside," he said. Marion drew in a sharp breath, but she did not stop him. Lily dropped the mop and ran for towels. The group came in like rainwater itself, silent and cold and afraid of touching anything clean. There were 11 of them. The woman at the front held the child upright. An older man leaned on the arm of a young woman with a scarred hand. A mother clutched a bundle beneath her coat. Not a baby, Ryan realized, but a packet of old medicine. Water pooled around their bare or broken shoes. Their clothes smelled of wet metal, old sweat, and chemicals that made Ryan's throat tighten. The woman looked back at the door as he locked it. "My name is Syra Venn," she said. "We are Valen. We are not thieves." "I did not ask if you were thieves," Ryan said. She blinked, as if that answer confused her. Ryan pointed to the folding tables. "Seat the child first." The boy was too light when Ryan took him. His skin was hot beneath the cold rain. The writing on his neck and arms glowed brighter than the others, each line shaped like a neat alien script that curled into numbers. Ryan laid him on the cleanest table. "Lily, towels. Mom, warm water. Not hot." Cyrus stepped forward. "His name is Toma Vel." The boy's eyes opened at the sound. He whispered something. Lily leaned closer. "What did he say?" Cyrus' mouth tightened. He answered with his labor number. Marion stopped with her hand on the faucet. Ryan looked at the boy again. "Toma," he said clearly, "you are in a laundromat on Earth. My name is Ryan. We're going to warm you up." The boy did not answer, but his fingers curled around the towel Lily placed over him. Ryan turned to Syra. "What is on your skin?" Syra looked at the glowing lines on her wrist. For the first time since she entered, shame crossed her face like pain. "Contract ink." "Contract for what?" "Work, food, air, debt." She swallowed. "Ownership, though they do not call it that." Ryan heard Marion behind him, very soft. "Dear God." The old man sat down hard on a bench. The young woman with the scarred hand turned toward the windows as if expecting someone to appear there. The mother with the medicine packet held it against her chest and rocked once, twice, without making a sound. Ryan went to the supply shelf and pulled down a basin, mild soap, gloves, clean cloths, and a bottle of skin-safe solvent he used for customers who spilled dye or resin on themselves. It was not made for alien skin. Nothing in Holt's wash was made for alien skin. But poor people learned to begin with what they had, then move carefully from there. "I need to test a small spot," he told Syra. "Not on the boy. On someone who can tell me if it burns." "Me," Cyrus said. "No," the scarred young woman said. "Your mark is deep." Syra answered in her own language. The sound was soft but firm. The younger woman looked away. Ryan held up a clean cloth. "If it hurts, you tell me. No pride. No silence. Understand?" Syra nodded. "I understand." Her wrist was thin, but the muscles in her forearm were roped from work. Ryan dipped the cloth in warm water and pressed it gently against one glowing line. The ink did not smear. It brightened. Syra sucked in air through her teeth. The line under the cloth shifted from pale blue to white, then to a deep green, and beneath it another layer appeared. Smaller marks, tighter marks, not writing meant to be seen. Code, Lily whispered. Ryan, it is moving. The old water filter in the back room gave a low metallic hum, as if answering. Ryan lifted the cloth. That is not ink. Cyrus stared at the exposed layer on her skin. It remembers. What does it remember? She looked around the laundromat, at the old machines, at the locked door, at the towels in Lily's arms and Marion's face full of fear and pity. Everything they said we owed. The first alarm came from a washer, not from the street. Washer number 2 ended its cycle with a high double beep Ryan had meant to fix for months. Every Valen in the room flinched. The old man grabbed his chest. Toma whimpered under the towel. The scarred young woman looked ready to run. Ryan crossed the room and slapped the washer silent. It is just a machine, he said. Only a washer. The scarred woman stared at the round glass door, where a customer's blankets sat heavy and wet. Our cleaning chambers made that sound before they counted the people inside. The words fell into the room and stayed there. Marion moved first. She picked up an armful of old clothes from the donation bin beside the counter. Sweatshirts, work pants, socks, a faded blue cardigan she had kept because it was too good to throw out. You can change in a restroom, one at a time, she said. Dry clothes first. Questions after. The Valen stared at her. Marion held the clothes out. They are not new, but they are clean. For a moment, no one moved. Then Nell Aaron, the young mother, stepped forward and took the cardigan as if it might vanish if she closed her hand too hard. Thank you, she said. Ryan worked while they changed. He checked Toma's temperature and made Lily write it down. He told Marion to bring water with sugar and salt because the boy was dehydrated. He examined Bren Vale, the old man, and found contract ink running under the skin near his heart. The lines pulsed there with a quiet, dangerous rhythm. Do not touch that one yet, Cyrus said. If it panics, he falls. The ink panics. It thinks. Not like a person, like a lock. Where did you come from? Ryan asked. Narave, Cyrus said. A small world. Dry now. The mines took the deep water. The refineries took the air. She glanced at Toma. Helix offered contracts. Work 3 cycles. Repay transport, go free. Helix labor trust. Lily looked up from the notes she was taking. Trust is a nice word for people who write on skin. Syra gave her a sad look. The galaxy likes nice words. Ryan moved to the supply room and dragged out his father's filter unit. It was a waist-high cylinder with a dented steel body, a charcoal core, silver mesh, and a pump that sounded like a tired animal. His father had built it after the city water started eating through old pipes. It had saved Holt's wash for years. Ryan had been offered $2,000 for it once by a parts dealer. He had said no before the man finished speaking. He rolled it beside the nearest sink. What is that? Syra asked. Something my father built before he died. It pulls metals and chemicals out of water. Sometimes things the city says are not there. Will it hurt us? I don't know yet. That is why we test. Ryan cut a short length of tubing, attached it to the basin, and ran warm water through the filter. He added a small amount of neutral soap, then a drop of solvent, then stopped himself. Too much guesswork killed people. Kira, Cyrus said to the scarred young woman. Show him. Kira Knoll held out her left hand. The skin. Across the back of it was ridged, the contract lines broken around an old burn. I ran once, Kira said. Her voice was low. They didn't call me back. I kept running. It burned until I stopped. Thank you, he said. Kira looked surprised. For what? For showing me before I made the same mistake. He tested the filtered water on a small broken line near her wrist, away from the scar. The ink dimmed slightly. Kira breathed out slow. Pain. Ryan asked. Less. Less is something. The laundromat changed after that. It was still the same old room, still humming, leaking, and smelling like soap. But purpose moved through it like heat. Marion sorted dry clothes. Lily wrote names on paper because several Valen hesitated when asked. One man answered, Unit 612, and then covered his mouth as if he had cursed. Bren closed his eyes and said his name for him. Dallin Rusk, Bren said. He forgets when he is frightened. Lily wrote Dallin Rusk in large letters. Toma opened his eyes and saw his own name on a piece of receipt paper. Tomavich. Lily had taped it to the side of the folding table where he could see it. That is you, Lily told him. The boy stared at the paper for a long time. I was told that was not useful. What? My name? Lily's face tightened. It is useful here. Ryan heard her and kept working. Layer by layer, the truth came out with the ink. Helix Labor Trust did not chain its workers with metal. It offered transport off dying worlds. It offered meals, cots, filtered air, protective gloves, basic medicine, and the promise that the debt would shrink with every shift. Then it charged for every breath inside the work camps. It charged for food, for water, for bed space, for gloves that tore, for medicine that arrived too late, for the ink itself, calling it identity protection. The poorer the worker, the more the system found a charge. When someone got sick, Helix added the cost of keeping them alive to the debt. When someone died, the file did not say died. It said asset removed from active ledger. When children grew old enough to carry tools, transport fees appeared under their names before they knew how to read them. Ryan listened without stopping his hands. He tightened a leaking clamp and adjusted the pump. Then he cooled Bryn's wrist and watched the contract line near the old man's heart settle from white to blue. Why come here? Marion asked quietly. Why Earth? Cyrus sat on an upturned laundry basket, one sleeve rolled to her shoulder. Because Earth stations do not read Helix ownership codes automatically. Not yet. Because your hospitals sometimes treat first and bill later. Because we heard. She stopped. You heard what? Ryan asked. Syra looked embarrassed, as if hope were a childish thing. We heard humans argue about rules after opening doors, not before. Marion looked down at the old cardigan around Nell's shoulders. That sounds like us. Ryan almost smiled, but the moment passed when the camera monitor above the counter flickered. A shape moved outside. Lily saw it too. Ryan. On the screen, a man stood under the broken sign in the rain. He was tall, narrow, dressed in a dark coat that did not seem wet. Two others waited behind him near the curb, each holding a case. The tall man looked at the door, then at the camera, and smiled without warmth. Cyrus stood so fast the basket tipped over. Varric Soul, she said. Ryan wiped his hands and walked to the front. Marion caught his sleeve. Do not open it. I'm not letting him think we are hiding because we are scared. We are scared. Ryan looked back at the Valen. Toma was trying to sit up. Nell held him down gently. Bryn's eyes were closed, but his hand gripped the edge of the bench. Cyrus stood with her shoulders square, face pale, ink glowing at her neck. I know, Ryan said. That is why I'm going to stand where he can see me. He unlocked the door, but left the chain on. Rain blew in through the gap. The man outside inclined his head. His skin was smooth and gray, his eyes nearly black. His English was flawless. Good evening. I am Varric Soul, field representative for Helix Labor Trust. I believe you're sheltering registered labor assets that belong in our care. Ryan looked at him through the gap. There are injured people inside. That is precisely why they must be returned to authorized maintenance. People do not. Go to maintenance. Varric's smile thinned. On your world, perhaps words are arranged differently. On my world, if someone walks into my business hurt, I do not hand them to the person who hurt them. One of the agents behind Varric lifted a flat device. It gave a soft tone. In the back room, several Valen cried out as their ink flashed. Ryan turned his head. Stop scanning. Varric glanced at the device, then back at Ryan. The scan confirms 11 Helix assets inside the premises. You are interfering with lawful recovery. Ryan closed the door until only the chain held it open. Come back with Earth authorities. I will, but I would prefer to resolve this gently. Varric reached into his coat and withdrew a thin screen. It lit his face from below. Ryan Holt, age 31, primary operator of Holt's Washington Pass, due on lease by 2 months. Pass due on municipal water by 1 month. Mother, Marion Holt, delayed medical treatment for chronic lung inflammation. Sister, Lily Holt, withdrew from college for financial reasons. Behind Ryan, Marion whispered his name. Varric continued, voice soft. Helix is prepared to settle your debts tonight. We will pay the lease, water, power, and medical account. We will fund your sister's next academic year. We will replace all non-functional machines in this establishment. Ryan felt each offer land in him like a nail. Dryers that worked. A roof that did not leak. Marion breathing without coughing at night. Lily carrying books instead of mop water. 3 years of fighting lifted with one signature. Varric saw it. You are not wealthy, Mr. Holt. You are not protected. You are one unpaid bill away from losing this place. These labor assets are not your burden. Cyrus stepped into view behind Ryan. Do not listen to him. Varric's eyes moved to her. Sodoven, you have caused considerable expense. She did not lower her head. I remember every expense you invented. You remember what you were assigned to remember. That is the tragedy of giving responsibility to unstable labor. Ryan looked at Syra, then at the old machines, the towels, his mother, his sister, the people crouched in the back of his broken laundromat. Because there was nowhere else in the galaxy that had opened. He turned back to Varric. No, Varric's expression did not change. No, I'm not handing them over. Your generosity is misinformed. Maybe, but your offer came too fast. That tells me you are afraid of something in here. For the first time, Varric did not answer immediately. A sharp cry came from the back. Toma arched on the folding table. The lines on his neck flared white. Kira shouted, "It is calling!" Varric lowered his screen. You have until dawn. After that, the ink will correct the breach itself. I strongly recommend you release my property before the correction becomes painful. Ryan shut the door in his face. The laundromat seemed smaller after that. Marion stood very still by the counter. Lily held the paper with Toma's name on it like a shield. Syra had one hand pressed to the glowing mark at her throat. He activated the recall, she said. Burn back will follow. How long? Ryan asked. Maybe 2 hours. Maybe less if he lies. Ryan was already moving. Lily, pull every towel we have. Mom, call Maradine. Tell her we have chemical burns and a child with fever. Do not say alien on the phone if you do not have to. Marion hesitated. Ryan, what he offered. I heard it. It would save this place. I know. It would get me treatment. Ryan stopped with his hand on the supply room door. Marion's voice broke, but she kept going. I'm not saying give them back. I am saying do not pretend this does not cost us. I am not pretending, he said. I am choosing. Marion closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was pain there, but no accusation. Then choose all the way, she said. Tell me what to do. That was when Ryan knew they might survive the night. He took the steel side panel off dryer number 7 and wedged it against the front window, then another panel near the back wall. He did not know how helix scans worked, but he knew metal and signal and line of sight. He cut power to the exterior camera and rerouted the interior feed to an old drive beneath the counter. He rolled the filter unit to the center of the room and connected hoses from the utility sink to washer. Number 6, the largest machine in the laundromat. He removed the drum guard and set the cycle to manual drain. He cut the heat feed to the dryers and forced number 4 to blow cool air only. Lily brought towels. Marion called Mara Dean, a nurse who lived 2 blocks over and had once paid for a load of laundry with a pie. Syra watched him work. You should give me to him. Ryan did not look up. No, if he has me, he may leave the others. If he has you, he has the code. Her silence told him he was right. Ryan tightened a clamp. What is the master code? Syra touched the glowing marks along her forearm. When Helix made me floor lead, they needed my body to confirm transfers. My mark links to the template. Worker numbers. Debt lines. Name removals. Death removals. She swallowed. I did not know all of it. I knew enough to hate myself. You kept them alive. I counted them for Helix. You counted them so they would not vanish. Syra looked at Bren. The old man was whispering names to Lily, one after another, and Lily wrote as fast as she could. Sometimes they vanished anyway, Syra said. A knock sounded at the back door. Ryan grabbed a wrench before he heard Mara Dean's voice. Ryan Holt, if you called me for a fake emergency, I will bill you in casseroles. He opened the door. Mara Dean stood in the rain with a medical bag, gray hair tucked under a hood, expression sharp enough to cut wire. She stepped inside, saw the Valen, saw the glowing burns, and stopped. Then she put her bag on the nearest table. "Child first," she said. No one asked her to be brave. She simply began. The next hour was not heroic. It was work. Mara cooled Toma's fever and treated shallow burns where the ink had tightened. Marion cut old sheets into strips. Lily wrote names and times. Ryan kept the water moving through the filter, testing each adjustment on small patches of skin. Syra translated when pain made the others slip into Valen words. Kira watched for the first signs of burnback and called them out before the ink flared too far. Outside, Varric waited. At 1:20 in the morning, the power flickered. Every machine in Holt's wash groaned. The filter pump stuttered. Toma began to shake. The glowing lines on Bryn's chest flashed white. Ryan lunged for the breaker box and held the main switch with both hands as it rattled. "Joe," Marion said. "What?" "Joe Pike. He is still awake. He fixes elevators at the towers. Call him. He owes me $20. Then he can pay in electricity." Joe Pike arrived 15 minutes later with a toolbox and a face that suggested he had seen enough strange things in old buildings to accept one more. He looked at the Valen, looked at the breaker box, looked at Ryan. "You need stable power?" "Yes." "Will this get me arrested?" "Maybe." Joe sighed. "I hated that tower job anyway." He opened the breaker box and began working. At 1:50, Varric tried the front door again. This time he had 2 local security officers with him, men Ryan recognized from the late bus route. They looked uncertain, wet, and underpaid. "Mr. Holt," one said through the glass, "we got a call about unauthorized sheltering of non-resident off-world persons." Ryan opened the door on the chain again. "We have injured people. A nurse is treating them." Varric stepped forward. "These are not refugees. They are contracted labor assets." Mara's voice came from behind Ryan. "I'm a licensed nurse, and I have a child with fever and multiple patients with active burns. If you remove them right now, you are knowingly worsening injuries." The officer looked past Ryan and saw Toma on the table, Nell holding his hand, Syra with her glowing marks, Bryn breathing shallowly. "Ma'am," the officer said to Mara, "are they in immediate medical distress?" "Yes." That one word changed the air. Varric's pleasant mask tightened. "You do not understand jurisdiction." The officer rubbed rain from his face. "I understand injured people." Ryan almost laughed, but there was no time. The first true burnback hit Kira at 2:10. She screamed once and bit down on a towel before the second sound came out. The mark across her scarred hand tightened into a bright ring. Ryan saw the skin around it rise. "Washer 6, he shouted. Syra and Nell helped Kira to the machine. Ryan had lined the inside with towels and rigged the water jets to float gently instead of spin. It was absurd, a person sitting halfway inside a laundromat washer while a nurse counted breaths and an alien woman spoke steady words in her own language. It was also the only thing that worked. Ryan started the filtered flow. Kira shook hard. "Cold. Good cold or bad cold?" Ryan asked. "Alive cold." "I will take that." The ink dimmed. A sound rose from the Valen. Not cheering. Not relief exactly. A fragile breath passed from one body to another. Varric saw through the glass. His face changed. "He is stripping active contract material," he said. Ryan looked up. "I'm stopping a burn." "You are destroying property." Syra turned toward him, still holding Kira's shoulder. "You always say property when you are afraid someone will see a person." Varric's eyes narrowed. "You were given responsibility, Syra. You could have had a better ration class. You chose disorder. I chose names." That was when Lily looked at the list in front of her, the growing columns of Valen names, some living, some dead, all of them once replaced by numbers. She went to the front window and taped the pages to the inside of the glass. Varric stared at them. So did the officers. So did the neighbors who had begun to gather under umbrellas outside Holt's wash, drawn by the lights, the security car, the strange glow behind the glass, and the old human instinct to watch a door when someone might be dragged through it. Marion saw the crowd. She took a breath, crossed to the entrance, and unlocked the door fully. Ryan turned. "Mom." She opened it before he could stop her. Rain blew in. Voices rose outside. Ryan Holt stood in the doorway, small and tired and fiercer than Ryan had ever seen her. If a person is being burned by those marks in my laundromat, then it is no longer a private contract matter. Varric said, "You are inviting legal exposure." "I have been exposed to bills for years," Marion said. "Try a new threat." A laugh came from somewhere in the crowd. It was nervous, but it broke something. Mara called Ryan. Bryn was failing. The old man's ink near his heart had gone white. Not blue-white. White like metal in a forge. He clutched his chest. Mouth open without sound. Ryan ran. "Can you cool it?" Mara asked. "Not directly. It will shock him." Syra grabbed Ryan's wrist. "The old marks first. Near the ribs. If the debt line cools, the heart line slows." "How do you know?" "I watched 3 men die when Helix did it wrong." Ryan did not ask more. He followed her instruction. Warm filtered water first, then cooler, then a cloth with neutral solution. Bryn trembled. The line near his ribs dimmed. The heart line slowed from white to blue. Bryn opened his eyes. "Did I say Kavi Run?" Lily leaned over him. "You said it. I wrote it down. Do not lose her." "I won't. She was my daughter." Lily's pen stopped for half a second. Then she wrote Kavi Run more carefully than any name before it. At 2:40, the master code began to surface. It happened on Cyrus' arm while Ryan was replacing a hose. The marks under her skin shifted all at once, forming a second pattern beneath the first. The glow sank deep, then rose through the contract lines like something buried, pushing toward air. Kira saw it and went still. Syra looked at her arm and closed her eyes. "It is trying to erase." Ryan wiped his hands. "Can we read it?" "Maybe." "Can we remove it?" "Yes, but if you remove it first, the deeper record is gone." Mara looked between them. "How long before it burns?" Syra's voice was steady. "Soon." Ryan felt the room narrow around that word. Earth was not arriving with flags. It was arriving in work boots, raincoats, medical bags, and borrowed extension cords. Ryan set a clean glass panel from a broken washer door across 2 laundry baskets. Beneath it, he placed his phone camera, the old security feed, and a scanner Lily had used for school papers. It was ridiculous. It was not built for alien contract law. But neither was Holt's wash built to be his sanctuary. And yet there they were. Syra placed her arm on the glass. Ryan saw her jaw tighten. "We can cool you first," he said. "If you cool too much, the code sinks. Then I will read fast. You may not have enough time. I will make enough time." Syra looked at him. Rain tapped the windows. Varric's voice argued with someone outside. Machines hummed and rattled around them. In that ugly fluorescent light, with a towel around her shoulders and pain shining at her throat, Syra looked less like a victim and more like a survivor than anyone Ryan had ever met. "I do not want to be brave," she said quietly. "You do not have to want it. I want this off me. I know. I want 1 minute where my skin is only skin." Ryan's throat tightened. "Then we get the code, and I take it off." Syra nodded once. "Do it." The code emerged in layers. Numbers first, then names, then debt records, then transport fees, then ration fees, then air fees, then charges for medicine never given, protective masks never replaced, funeral credits charged to families who had never received bodies. The scanner caught fragments. The security camera caught the glow. Lily read aloud what Syra translated, voice shaking but clear. Name removed. Identity converted to labor unit. Debt transferred. Next of kin unlisted. Again, Ryan said. Lily swallowed. Name removed. Identity converted to labor unit. The phrase repeated across the records. Not once. Not for one group. Across routes, camps, stations, and poor worlds Ryan had never heard of. Narave. Orlon Deep. Mia Outpost. Greydock 7. Names of places mattered less than what had been done there. Helix had not only trapped people in debt, it had erased the legal record of personhood, then used the absence of personhood to claim bodies as transferable assets. Cyrus' arm began to smoke. Ryan moved to pull the water line over her. She stopped him with her free hand. Not yet. Syra. One more layer. Her voice was thin now. The glow had climbed to her shoulder. Mara stepped closer, ready with burn gel. Nell covered Toma's eyes, but did not look away herself. Kira stood behind Syra like a guard. Ryan forced himself to keep the scanner steady. The final layer appeared. A template. A clean, cold design. A program for applying the same contract ink to any worker class without recognized property, citizenship, or debt protection. At the bottom, in Helix's own internal language, was a line Syra translated with a bitterness that made her voice almost break. If name status is unstable, ownership status may replace identity. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the filter pump screamed. A blue spark jumped from the motor housing. Joe cursed. The lights flickered. The water flow stuttered. Cyrus' arm flared white. Ryan threw the scanner aside and grabbed the hose. Now, Joe slammed a tool into the breaker panel and held something in place with insulated pliers. You have 30 seconds before this thing cooks itself. Ryan opened the filtered line full. Cool water rushed over Cyrus' arm. She cried out, not loud, but with a sound that cut through every person in the room. Kira held her shoulders. Mara pressed damp cloths above the burn line. Ryan worked the neutral solution into the glowing marks with his bare fingers because gloves had become too clumsy. The ink fought like a living wire. It tightened then loosened. It crawled toward her shoulder. Ryan followed it with water, cloth, pressure, and patience. Every part of him wanted to scrub hard. Every piece of training his father had given him said not to. You did not force a chemical burn. You let it out. You gave the damage somewhere to go that was not deeper into the body. Stay with me, Ryan said. Cyrus' eyes were open, fixed on his face. Did you get it? Yes. Say it. We got it. All of it. Ryan looked at Lily. Lily held up the drive from the camera system, her hands shaking. All of it. Syra finally let herself sag. Ryan kept working until the last bright line on her arm faded to a dull gray. Not gone, not healed, but no longer moving. Outside, Varric shoved past one of the officers and stepped into the open doorway. Stop this immediately. No one moved for him. Not Joe at the breaker box. Not Mara with bloodless focus on Cyrus Burns. Not Marion at the door. Not Lily with the drive in her hand. Not the neighbors pressed behind the threshold. Not Nate beside his van. Not the two officers who now looked less certain of Varric than they did of the woman whose arm had just smoked in front of them. Varric pointed at Ryan. You have destroyed proprietary material. Ryan stood slowly. His hands were red from heat and solvent. His shirt was soaked. Behind him, Syra breathed alive, her arm wrapped in clean cloth from his mother's old sheets. No, Ryan said. I treated a burn. You extracted protected contract data. Your contract was burning through her skin. That is an enforcement response. Mara turned on him. That is an injury. Varric ignored her. You do not have authority. A new voice answered from the doorway. Edo. A woman in a dark emergency jacket stepped inside. Rain on her shoulders, an Earth Medical Response badge clipped to her chest. Two paramedics followed her with a stretcher. Behind them came a local liaison officer Ryan had seen once on the news after an off-world shipping accident. The woman looked at Mara. You are the nurse who called in active chemical burns. Biochemical burns, Mara said. Multiple patients. One child. One elder cardiac risk. One adult female with deep tissue exposure. The Earth responder looked at Syra, then at Toma, then at the glowing marks still visible on the others. Varric said, These are Helix labor assets under Galactic contract. Your agency has no right to seize them. The responder did not raise her voice. I am not seizing anyone. I am treating injured persons on Earth soil. They are not persons under their registered status. Ryan saw something move across her face. Not shock, not confusion, decision. On Earth, she said, injured persons are persons first. The words were not a speech. They were a triage order. The paramedics moved. Varric stepped toward Syra. Nate Cole came in from the doorway and planted himself in the way, a delivery driver in a wet jacket with a coffee stain on his shirt. Back up, Nate said. Varric looked at him as if he were furniture. You are obstructing recovery. Nate nodded toward Ryan. Everybody in this room is doing laundry wrong tonight. Get in line. Someone in the crowd laughed again, and this time it did not sound nervous. Lily handed the drive to the liaison officer. This is the burn back on video. It has the code. It has the names. Bryn raised one shaking hand. Not all, he said. Lily knelt beside him. Tell me. He whispered more names. Lily wrote them down on the back of an unpaid water bill. The official process that followed was messy, human, and nothing like a clean victory scene. At dawn, the rain stopped. The sky over Mercer Street turned the color of dirty cotton. The inside of Holt's wash looked like a storm had passed through it. Towels lay everywhere. Washer 6 was half disassembled. Dryer 7 had no side panels. The filter unit smoked from its motor and gave one last sad click before going silent. Ryan put a hand on it. His father's machine had died saving strangers. Marion came to stand beside him. Your dad would have pretended he could fix it. Ryan laughed once, tired and broken. He would have fixed it. Probably. Across the room, the liaison officer finished a call and faced Varric. Pending review, Earth emergency protection applies to all 11 Valen individuals present, she said. They will not be removed from this site or for medical care by Helix Labor Trust. Varric's eyes darkened. You are making a diplomatic error. No, she said. We are documenting injuries. Helix will contest jurisdiction. You may file through proper channels. They are assets. The liaison officer looked at Syra, who stood with one arm bandaged and her back straight. Not here, she said. Persons. Varric heard the word, and everyone in the laundromat heard it with him. He left because staying made him weaker. When his vehicle pulled away, no one cheered. The Valen were too tired. The Holts were too aware of the damage. Victory did not look like triumph. It looked like people still breathing after a door almost closed. The next hours blurred into paperwork, treatment, and exhaustion. The Valen were taken for treatment in 2 groups, but Syra refused to leave until Ryan promised the names would not be lost. Lily gave copies to the liaison officer, to Mara, and to Syra herself. Bryn made Lily read the list back. Some names had no bodies attached anymore. Some belonged to people still trapped far beyond Earth. But they had been spoken in a laundromat on Mercer Street, and that mattered. By noon, Holt's Wash was officially closed for safety inspection. By 1, Mr. Kale, the landlord, arrived in a clean coat and stared at the broken machines, the warped floor, the scorched filter, and the crowd of neighbors still gathered outside. This is a lease violation, he said. Marion looked too tired to argue. Ryan said yes. Mr. Kale seemed prepared for excuses. The simple answer unsettled him. You cannot operate like this. I know. You do not have insurance for off-world incidents. I know. You will owe for damages. Ryan looked at the laundromat his father had kept alive, the place his mother had held together, the place Lily had given up school to save. He thought of Varric's offer. Paid bills. New machines. Clean future. All it would have cost was handing over people whose names had almost been erased. Send me the bill, Ryan said. Mr. Kale glanced at the neighbors outside. Mara stood with her arms crossed. Joe held a coil of wire. Nate leaned against his van. Lily was taping a handwritten sign to the window. Closed for repairs. People still welcome. Mr. Kale read it twice. I will give you a week, he said. Marion blinked. What? A week? He repeated, annoyed with his own mercy. Do not make me regret it. After he left, Lily whispered, was that kindness or fear? Ryan looked at the crowd outside. Sometimes fear walks kindness to the door. Lily smiled for the first time that day. By evening, Earth issued a temporary protection order. No person bearing Living Contract, Inc. could be removed from Earth soil without medical review, identity review, and consent spoken without coercion. The order did not free every worker in the galaxy. It did not destroy Helix. It did not end hunger on Narave. But it opened a door that had not existed the night before. 3 days later, Syra Vin returned to Holt, Washington. The laundromat was not open, not really. Half the machines were still dead. The floor smelled faintly of smoke, no matter how much Marion scrubbed. The broken sign still said hot wash, though someone had found a spare letter L and leaned it against the window like a promise. Neighbors had brought what they could. Joe brought wire. Nate brought a used pump from a delivery warehouse. Mara brought bandages and soup. Mrs. Alvarez from the apartment over the bakery brought a box of children's clothes. A mechanic from 2 streets over brought a washer, so old, even Ryan looked offended before admitting it had usable parts. Syra came in wearing a plain gray coat from the medical shelter. Her left arm was bandaged from wrist to shoulder. At her throat, where the ink had once glowed, there was only a faint silver scar. Ryan looked up from the guts of dryer number 7. You should be resting. I was told walking is good. Who told you that? No one. I wanted to come. Toma came in behind her, holding Nell's hand. He wore shoes too large for him and a red sweater with a cartoon bear on it. Bryn followed with a cane. Kira stood at the door, scanning the street by habit until Lily gently touched her elbow and pointed to a chair. Marion wiped her hands on a towel. You all should be in bed. Syra looked around the damaged laundromat. So should your machines. Ryan smiled despite himself. They are stubborn. Like you. Like all poor things that keep being asked to last one more day. Syra understood that. He could see in her face. Lily came from the back room, holding a stack of paper slips. They were ordinary laundry tickets, the kind Holt's Wash had used for years when people left clothes for wash and fold service. Most had coffee stains along the edges. Some were printed crooked. Lily had crossed out the old customer number line on each one. I made these, she said, suddenly shy, for when the clothes come out. The Valen looked at the slips. Ryan took the first one from Lily. On it, in careful black ink, she had written Syra Vin. No number, no debt line, no owner, no unit mark, just a name. Syra stared at it. Her bandaged hand rose but did not touch the paper. In Helix camps, she said, cloth was marked by function. Heat suit, waist shift, dock labor, child ration, never by person. Ryan held out the ticket. Here, if we wash it for you, we put your name on it so it gets back to you. Because it belongs to me. Yes. The words seemed to move through her like warmth after cold. One by one, Lily handed out the slips. Tomavej, Nilarin, Brainvali, Kiranov, Dallin Rusk. Others whose voices had been quiet in the long night, but whose names now sat in human handwriting on cheap laundromat paper. Toma held his slip close to his chest. Then he looked at the washer where a small load of donated clothes turned behind the round glass. When my sweater comes out, he asked, is it really mine? The laundromat went quiet. Syra knelt beside him. She looked at Ryan, at Marion, at Lily, at the neighbors working in the back, at the cracked tiles and the broken machines, and the window where rain had dried into streaks. And she looked back at Toma. Here, she said yes. Ryan turned away for a moment, because there are some things a man can hear only if he pretends to check a machine. Outside, Mercer Street carried on. Buses hissed at the curb. Someone shouted about a parking space. Rainwater dripped from the cracked bus shelter. The galaxy did not become gentle in one day. Helix did not vanish. Somewhere far from Earth, other workers still wore glowing contracts on their skin. But behind Holt's Wash, on a line strung between a rusted pipe and the back fence, clean clothes moved in the wind. Each shirt and sweater had a small paper tag pinned to it, protected inside a bit of clear tape. Not numbers, not owners, not debts, names. The old sign above the door still flickered. The missing letter had not been fixed yet. Ryan would get to it when he could. For now, he stood beneath it with grease on his hands, smoke in his clothes, and the knowledge that his family might still lose the place. Then Syra came to stand beside him. You open the door, she said. Ryan looked through the window at the machines, the people, the paper, names moving gently in the warm air from the dryers. No, he said. We kept it open. And for that evening, in a poor laundromat on Earth that smelled of cheap soap and burned wiring, that was enough to make it true. In the end, Holt's Wash was still a poor little laundromat with cracked tiles, broken glass, and machines that had seen better days. But for Syra Vin and the Valen workers, it became something no rich world, no galactic court, and no powerful corporation had ever given them. A place where their names mattered. Ryan Holt did not save them because he had money, authority, or an army behind him. He saved them with old machines, steady hands, a tired family, and the courage to keep a door open when everyone else had closed one. And maybe that is what made Earth different. Not that humans were perfect. Not that Earth was rich. Not that one small laundromat could fix every cruelty in the galaxy overnight. But when a galaxy looked at the poor and saw debt, property, and numbers, one family on Earth looked at them and saw people. If this story moved you, please give it a like, share it with someone who still believes kindness can be stronger than power, and subscribe for more science fiction stories about humanity standing where no one else will. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the last sanctuary in the galaxy is not a fortress, a fleet, or a throne. Sometimes it is just a light left on in a poor little shop, waiting for someone who has nowhere else to go.